I have been on almost 500 coasters around the world. I have came across many world-class coasters, some very boring coasters, and very bad coasters, and that is what I will be talking about today. You might not agree with some of my takes, but most of them are pretty reasonable. These are the top 10 worst coasters I have ridden. First, I'd like to begin with some honorable mentions. Tornado at Adventureland. I rode this for the first time back in 2022, and I remember it being awful. It was so bad that it gave me back pain for the next 3 days. This year I went back to Adventureland for Preservation Conference, and in between the times I went, they did some track work and now it rides much better, and it's actually re-rideable. If they never retracked it, it would definitely be on this list. Loup-Garou at Wolverine, Belgium. This is the only Voma wooden coaster left in its original form. It is an incredibly rough ride that has good airtime, and this ride does have potential if it gets an overhaul. It wasn't bad enough to make the cut, but it's still pretty bad. Ninja at Six Flags St. Louis. Usually I like Garu loopers, but this one is very bad because Voma also took part in building this because Garu went bankrupt during construction. Again, it's not bad enough to make the cut. Hoosier Hurricane at Indiana Beach. This ride has a very good layout and does have potential. Right now it's a horribly rough wooden coaster with almost no airtime. If they reprofiled this entire coaster, it could potentially be one of the top coasters at Indiana Beach. But for now, it's at the very bottom. Now, we can get into the actual top 10. Cedar Creek Mine Ride is my least favorite arrow. I get it that it's one of the oldest coasters still standing at Cedar Point, but this ride is just awful. The layout is okay, but the transitions are horrendous.
Ugh. Brother, ugh. What's that?
And on every transition, your thighs will take a beating. It's definitely not the worst coaster, but it's a contender. I rode Kitty Hawk at Carowinds in 2023 because I needed the credit. I've ridden all the other family hang-and bangs, and I didn't think they were all that bad. When I rode this one, I thought it was just horrible. It feels exactly like most Voma SLCs with hard over-the-shoulder restraints. And one thing I find crazy about this is that Cedar Fair gives it a 4 out of 5 on the thrill scale, which is the same as rides like Prowler at Worlds of Fun. If you want the credit that bad, then I would ride it early in the day because it only has one train. I honestly thought Green Lantern at Six Flags Great Adventure wouldn't be all that bad because I had only been on 2 stand-ups at the time, which were Riddler's Revenge and Georgia Scorcher, and I thought both of them were pretty good. Once I rode this, my legs hurt like hell, and my head was being jostled around the entire ride. Let's just say it will hurt even more if you are a dude. Right now, it's my least favorite B&M I have ever ridden, and it will probably stay that way, at least for now. Great Chase at Six Flags America is a kiddie coaster, and you are probably wondering why it's on this list. Obviously it's not because it's a kiddie coaster, or else this list would be flooded with them. But this one bruised my thigh pretty good because the transitions on this ride are 100 times worse than most arrow transitions. I honestly think I would have had a broken femur by the end of the day if I marathoned this for a whole day. Ride it only if you really want the credit. This is the original Voma SLC, and you probably know what that means. It's the most janky one. It has vent restraints and all that, but do not let that fool you. There's no headbanging, but it feels like there's 2 guys that are behind you and under you hitting your seat with sledgehammers. When I rode this, you would have heard me screaming a string of obscenities and "Have mercy!" the entire ride because it hurt so bad. It's not the worst Voma hang and bang out there, but it's down there. Wolverine Wildcat? More like Wolverine Wild Crap. This ride is a Ridden Woody that will try to jackhammer the teeth out of you no matter where you are sitting. It is also identical to Phoenix at Knoebels, which is a world-class coaster, but it has little to no airtime. When I first rode this in 2019, I had extremely weird looking red prescription sports goggles with a strap on them that I wore before I got contacts. It was so shaky that they came off of my face, and if I didn't have that strap, I possibly would have lost them that day. I rode it again in 2021, and it was slightly better. If you want to ride it, do it if the line is short because it only has one train, and ride it near the back. You may think I'm crazy for saying that, just trust me, it won't be as bad. So at the time I recorded this audio, I had no idea that Wolverine Wildcat got Titan track, so just throwing that out there for y'all. I've ridden many wild mice. Some of them were decent and some were horrible like this one. This one was beyond horrible though. The turns are extremely uncomfortable and there's no airtime. The worst part of it was that the lap bars sit right about where your stomach is, and the trims hit very abruptly so that your stomach goes straight into the lap bar. When the ride got to the final brake run, I swear, it almost broke my ribs. This is another ride I will never do again, unless if I was paid at least $100 per ride. Pegasus is just poorly engineered. It's probably as close as you can get to riding an actual minecart by having a much lower chance of death. Even just watching the ride is painful. It looks like it can derail at any second, and I am extremely surprised that Zeus was the one to derail first. And it's smooth as butter, so I never would have thought it would derail. If you want the credit that bad, I would sit in the back so you don't feel as much as the last turn as you would in the front, because the train would be slowed down much more. I rode this thing back in 2017 when I was only 9. I don't remember a lot of Canada's Wonderland, but this one ride I remember vividly. I will never forget how badly this shook me. At the time I thought Cedar Creek Mine Ride and Ninja at Six Flags St. Louis were bad, but this thing destroyed all of those. That's pretty much all I remember from that experience, but this was my least favorite coaster for the next 3 years until this monstrosity came into my life. I am so glad this thing just got torn out. This thing started as T2 and had hard over-the-shoulder restraints, and I honestly think it would have been better that way. But that all changed when Six Flags announced that the park would close for good at the end of the 2009 season. The park sat abandoned for the next 5 years until Ed Hart reopened it in 2014. It sat there for another year but reopened as T3 with a new paint job and new trains. You may think that the new trains made the ride much better, but absolutely not. The restraints on this ride will put your legs through immense pain for 3 minutes of your life, and it feels more like 3 years. The track is also not smooth either. It will jostle you around like crazy while your thighs are being crushed by the restraint. There was one occasion where I was next to board, and the people on the cycle before I got on were stuck in the restraints because they couldn't get them to unlock. I saw one poor girl that was tearing up because the pain was so bad. I am extremely grateful I was not on that cycle. If they do relocate this, I better not see those trains in circulation ever again. And instead the park it goes to will buy new trains from Voma, so no one will have to endure that pain ever again. I wish they hit that coaster with a wrecking ball, but sadly they just took it off piece by piece. But still, good riddance. But yeah, those are my top 10 worst coasters I have ever ridden. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, subscribe, and check out my other videos, and I'll see y'all later.